CMBC. I'm going to be reading The Traffic Secrets, the last chapter. I'm so sorry I can't be there with you, but I'm hoping that this will somehow make up for it. So here goes. So Secret 16 is the funnel hub. So he talks about this idea of like when he first started, there was this contention between two different teams. There was the branding team who were more focused on like clean design, connection with customers, creating a feeling to entice people to come back to buy from you over and over again, and the direct response team that were more focused on getting conversion, creating a process to track every advertising dollar spent, and working towards getting immediate positive ROI. And he understood the like the like why each team wanted what they wanted, but because he didn't have a lot of money to pay to build a brand, he then decided to just go down the direct response route. And so he just became obsessed with conversions, and what he would find is that people would buy, but they would usually never return. And for him, he was fine with it, because as long as the money he was spending was less than how much he was making, he was winning. And all of that was going fine until PPC came along. So when Google introduced the pay-per-click, and overnight all his ads disappeared, and so he had to now start looking for tricks and hacks overnight. And so as he was like hunting for different hacks and ways to get his business back up and running, he then started to look at press releases, because he felt like it looked like it was quite promising. And what press releases promised were a way of like if you issue the press release through that, you could then be ranked higher on your website. And if the press release did really well, then you could potentially be picked up by like the real press. And so he was like, it would be quite cool if his products were on TV. So he started writing press releases. Some of them were paid, some of them were unpaid. And he found out that every single one of them were rejected. And so then he started to kind of push doors to find out like, why aren't they being taken up? And that's when, after he'd been pushing many doors, he then started to get like actual information from them. And some of them were like, I don't know what your website is, but your website looks like a scam, doesn't look like a proper website. And that's when he realized that, oh, okay, I've kind of focused so much on direct response that I've actually just like thrown away the whole concept of branding out the window. Yeah. And then from there, he then was like, okay, so I'm not going to go down the route of just neglecting brands. So he started to try and work on it, but he couldn't quite nail it until he found some other friends who actually were able to help him understand how to create like a brand website, what he calls like a funnel hub. So one of the other things he talks about is a distribution channel. And so this is where, each product that you have, if you have a distribution channel, you can think about it being like almost like a traffic, and you can think about what products can I put in front of my distribution channel that can sell. And where he got this concept from was like watching things like Shark Tank and its sister company, the name escapes me, Dragon's Den, and there were like there are some others from the different different countries as well, the equivalent. But he realized that a lot of these guys before, like Deborah Meaden, etc., when they say yes, they're saying yes because they know that they already have a distribution channel, and they're like, I can put this product in front of my audience that are part of my distribution channel, and they're more likely to bring in money. And so what he now is encouraging is for us to think about distribution channels and think about that Dream 100, the list of those Dream 100 companies and the distribution channel, and to think about how you can earn and buy ads on their lists. And he also talks about, like some people are solo publishers. So, you can pay them and you'll get your product like published in their media article. And what he said was actually when he would do that, he wouldn't just take the value that they offered. What he would actually ask them for is for a report for the last 5 years of how many clicks they've actually received on the email. And he would then use, like, get that number, get the number of how many clicks he normally is used to getting that convert to a sale on his website, and then use that to then work out, this is how much money I think I'm going to make, and so this is how much money I think is worth spending. But what was also interesting was he found that, or when he shared it in the book that I found interesting, was he shared how this sort of thing is easy, like really good to do, to like test out clicks, and usually the clicks were between 36 to 48 hours maximum. And I thought that was quite interesting because I didn't realize that it's only for a very short window, but that's what he does for a lot of like split test. And in my like normal day job, I actually sometimes help some of my clients do like split tests where they'll like test one product and test another product, or, you know, two different prices, and they'll see which one is doing well to then compare and know, you know, which one is better to go down the route of. He also talks about how some people, you know, they could then use like postcards or direct mail campaign to get onto their distribution channel. But what he always encourages, if you are going to use a distribution channel, make sure that it's that company that's sending all of the information to the recipients. So if it's emails, they're sending it from their email account. If it's like direct mail, they're sending it from their in-house company, so that one, it's coming from a source that the recipients are familiar with, and two, from a data protection perspective, you don't have access to that information. So one powerful question he mentioned that he likes to ask himself is, how can I get myself a raise today? And that's what gets him thinking about different ideas of how he can make more money. So he encourages us to search for distribution channels to build our own list. He also then talks about integration marketing and how you can integrate into the sales process of your Dream 100. So for example, a company could have their client buy the product, and then on the third day, they'll then receive an email advertising your product. Or you could have like a pop-up at the top of a blog, or maybe when you're exiting, then you're sent to his funnel. So that's how you can integrate your product, market your product, integrate it into their sales process. The other thing he talked about is affiliate network. And so again, he talks about how he stumbled across this, and he basically found this website where people, it was like an underground website where people were talking about the different ways to best get traffic to a website. And some people were like SEO and all the different SEO methods. Some people were like pay-per-click and all the different methods and algorithms. Some people were like email marketing and all those different methods. Some people were like safe list, and some people were like solo marketing. But then what he calls the person who he thought owned the website then put a comment onto that question, and he said actually he thinks network of affiliates. And basically that's having a network, a pool of people who are actually using all these methods like SEO, pay-per-click, etc. But they're like investing in getting that bit to work, and you then just then become part of their network, but use their resources to get your products out. And then so he then talks about so many ways you can use affiliates, and actually he says that this is the most effective way to get the most amount of money. And he then talks about how you can incentivize these affiliates to make more money for you. And he talks about how some people will ask, okay, how much money do you pay them? And because he noticed that sometimes some people would offer cars, like if people sold X amount. And so he realized that, okay, if I maybe got them to sell X amount, 5% of that money coming in, actually that's enough to pay for their dream car. So he started thinking of clever ways to incentivize the affiliates to make more money. And he also talked about how even as part of these affiliates, you can use them as part of like your launching pad when you're launching products. So he would set up like special webinars for each of the affiliates, so that it then creates like this long launch, and it offers people the ability to get to know the product, but in their different networks and pools that the affiliates have. And then the last thing I wanted to then share was, he then talks about this idea of cold traffic. So he mentioned, he's talked about warm traffic, which is all about the fans, the followers, the lists. He then talks about hot traffic, which is about your own list, and then he then talks about this idea of cold traffic. And the only way I can explain it is that cold traffic are actually like people who don't actually really know a lot about your product, the problem they're trying to solve effectively. And so these are actually the hardest people to reach, because they take a longer time to convert, because you need to build the knowledge, acumen, understanding, experience, etc., for them to actually get to a point where they become warm, hot, and then they buy from you. So he doesn't recommend that you go into this until you've mastered the other ones. But what he said, which I found quite interesting, was he said that if people are aware of your product and realize it can satisfy their desire, you start with the product. If people are not aware of the product but only aware of a desire, aware of their desire, you start with the desire. If people are not aware of what they really want, they're not really aware of what they really want, but they just have an awareness of like a bit of an idea of a problem. He then says, start with trying to build their knowledge towards like understanding the specific need that they require, and he says that this can take a bit of time, like I said, to warm up. But if you can do this well, it can then turn these cold traffic into hot traffic. So I'm conscious of time, but obviously there's like so much more I can share on this. But what I can say for what CMBC members can take away is, it's just this idea of actually the benefit of what we talked about before, like the sales, the funnel hub, and obviously like the direct response and all of that stuff that we've been talking about before, and just how these two can work together. Because one of the things I didn't mention about the funnel hub was the reason why he said it was very important was he recognized that whilst he was getting people to come on to the direct response and buy, and they would never come back, what he didn't realize was he was creating an awareness for his name, awareness for his company, awareness for the product. And so actually, if you googled, if you went onto like the back end of Google, the search engine, and were able to check like how many people had searched for Russell Brunson this month, or this, you would see X amount of people. And what he realized was all of those people, other people could then monetize and lead customers to their website using that. What he also found out was that without creating that branded website, people were just coming onto this click funnel, and they might just be starting at the wrong place in that click funnel. And so it wasn't necessarily like a good experience for them. And also, like we talked about with the cold, the warm, hot, and cold traffic. So there is a benefit in having that branded website, and so he created it separately. But anyway, like I said, I've spoken a lot. The book is fantastic, honestly. Like, it's just been a big eye-opener. So for what CMBC members can take away, it's just this increased knowledge on how you can continue to progress with these ideas to build your business. If they're positives, I listened to the Audible. I haven't listened to the book. I think for me, some concepts, I had to play them back over and over again just to really understand like those ideas, because some of them were a little bit new to me. But once I got it, it was like, oh wow, this is actually quite a cool idea. How can I take this further? If there are negative points, I find that he talks very quickly on the Audible book. And I don't normally complain about how fast people talk, but he's one of them that I had to play it back like at least 2 or 3 times to make sure, okay, that's what he said, especially if some concepts were new to me. But honestly, like I said, I feel like this is such a great book just to get people thinking about the different ways and different approaches to make money for their business. So hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, obviously I'm not going to answer, but I'm hoping that maybe Sister Blessing can answer, or it can just open up a discussion topic around what people have taken away from what I've shared, and if there are questions or if there are things that people would like to look into further. So enjoy the rest of the time, and I'll see you next month by God's grace. God bless.